You could accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
It was a legitimate call. It made sense. It was pass interference. I don't care what anybody was pass interference. All pass interference.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk from two men in the know. It's Football with Joe.
And you can win under pressure when it's there. You call runs when you're not supposed to, and Dak Prescott is throwing it in the dirt.
You know, I'm convinced that Jameis Winston is going to have an ESPN special 30 for 30. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the No Show. I am your host, Joe DeCapita, and alongside of me is not Jim. It is our good friend, Cody Cook. Welcome aboard to the show, Cody.
Well, thanks for having me. I've been watching you guys for a while. It's pretty cool being on this side of the screen, though.
Appreciate it. Also joining us, he is off camera. None other than the legend himself, Jim McPhee. He is our producer for tonight. He unfortunately is not feeling all that well. He is under the weather a little bit. He has a slight cold. It affected his vocal cords a little bit, and it's a little harder for him to speak. So he's going to give us a silent treatment. He's going to be over there handling the show, running it along real smoothly for us, also dropping in some noises for you guys. We know you like that. But Cody.
Hello, everyone.
But Cody, so we've had a whirlwind of activity in the NFL. It's been absolutely nuts. It's been crazy. It's almost been chaotic at times with trades and free agents going from one team to another. A lot of activity has happened in the past few days. Now we're into kind of what the league considers it as like the second/third wave of free agency, where things kind of start to slow down a little bit with the big names and everything are already taken up. And now we're getting into where it's a little bit quieter, a little bit more peaceful. The signings aren't as glamorous. And then there's still even a couple of trades that got sprinkled in today. But what do you think how the free agency period has turned out so far?
It's definitely going to be an exciting year. This season, all the QBs shuffling around, a lot of veteran players moving. You got guys, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, guys who have been with the same team for years that now we're going to get to see them at different spots. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, but curious to see how everything lands out.
Yeah, and so you bring up Tom Brady, and Tom Brady played with the New England Patriots for 20 years. What a long career and a phenomenal career for Tom Brady. 6 Super Bowl champ, multiple MVPs, multiple, MVP of the Super Bowl and everything. Now he goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to take everybody, I think, some adjusting to get used to seeing Brady in a Buccaneers uniform. What do you think Tom Brady's going to bring to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for this upcoming season?
Obviously he's a lot safer with the ball, which is a bit of an understatement coming from a guy like Jameis Winston. You got the weapons around outside of the running back position could be a little stronger, but when you see the offense turn the ball over a bit less, already got plenty of guys on the defense, got a dominant linebacking core, dominant D-line, just the turnovers that seem to limit them in a lot of these games.
Right. Now, another thing people are wondering, too, is now that Brady has been added, he's been acclimated to the roster now. Now he's got to get used to some big-time weaponry that he didn't really have this past season with New England. He's got Mike Evans now. He's got Chris Godwin now. Yeah. He's got to be feeling pretty jacked. Also, don't forget the young stud O.J. Howard.
Yeah.
So if they're able to lock down, you mentioned running back as a weakness for that team.
Yes.
if they manage to maybe they pursue that in the draft.
Yeah.
There's still available free agent running backs out there now. Maybe they bring somebody in. But now that he has these toys in front of him, do you think that Bruce Arians is going to keep kind of the same offense in Tampa, or do you think that he's going to be more apt to change that offense to convert to Tom Brady?
I'd say he probably has to change it. You see a guy like Jameis, he's always been known as the gunslinger. He's got the arm talent, but I don't think Brady really has that anymore. He doesn't have, the big cannon. Obviously he can still throw it with the best of them, but he's just you're switching arm talent's just not going to be the same offense. Should be a lot safer.
You're right. It's going to be a lot different to get used to. He doesn't have the arm as Winston had.
Yeah.
Everybody knew he had a cannon, but wasn't the greatest decision maker or the most accurate at times. But now with Brady in there, it does give them a sense of leadership, a sense of experience of winning.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting, to say the least, that team coming up to week 1, what everything is going to unravel for Tampa Bay fans, for example. We have Mike Tackett is joining us right now. Mike Tackett, what's going on, Mike? Welcome to the show. We always appreciate you showing up. Mike Tackett's got to say, it's Wednesday. We ain't got no jobs, no money, and all are locked in. We're going to talk football. Shout out to the Raiders. Nice. Appreciate that, Mike. 11 new players signed thus far and have 5 picks in the top 100. 12, 19, 80, 81, and 90 overall. Looking forward to future Raiders / Bills AFC championship game. Well, you never know. I like the comment, obviously, because I'm a Raiders fan, but I don't see us making a push for the championship game just yet. I think they need at least another year, maybe 2, to get there, to be competitive enough to even get to that state. But nonetheless, I like the optimism. Buffalo Bills fans love it. Las Vegas Raiders love it. And it'll be interesting. The draft will be interesting, to say the least. And it's not just the Raiders picks that they have. There's plenty of teams. I believe there's at least 3 or 4 teams with 2 first-round picks in this upcoming draft.
Yeah.
And that in itself, you look at the Miami Dolphins right now, they have 3 first-rounders. And what could they possibly be doing for this upcoming draft? They could either choose. They have a ton of picks overall. Now, they have a lot of capital to move up, to move down in that draft. A lot of people think that they are absolutely in love with Tua Tagovailoa, and do the Miami Dolphins do a little song and dance throughout this draft? Do they move up? Do they move back? You know what I mean? So this draft is very intriguing. A lot of talent across the board. But when you think about the Dolphins, what do you think is the smartest approach, Cody, going into this draft?
Oh, boy.
They have a lot of needs.
Yeah.
We all know that. And quarterback is a major one. Do you think that they're going to kind of stay pat at 5 and take the best available QB in their eyes? Or do you think that they might just, in fact, maybe package a couple picks, maybe 3 picks, whatever it takes, just to move up a few spots to land their guy?
I'd say it all depends on maybe what their opinions are on guys like Tua, if they want maybe to try and go down a little farther, see if they can't get a guy like Herbert, if they're high on him. There's other QB talent in this draft, but I don't think they'll trade back. Everyone's seen what they want from Tua. It's all just the injury concerns at this point. Right.
So do you think that they'll stay pat at 5 and just kind of hope that maybe Tua slips to them at 5? Or do you think that they might potentially like somebody else other than Tua?
I think they'll stay at 5. I don't see any of the top 4 teams. They have other needs. A lot of them have their QBs of the future already. And I don't see them going anywhere from Tua.
Zach Walker's joining us on the show. Welcome to the show, Zach. He says, Jimmy on the sounds.
Yeah.
It is pointless to resist, my son.
Excellent. Jimmy being the silent commentator with all his little his little quirky sounds and phrases over there. He's going to keep it light and keep it moving here. But we talked a little bit about the draft, really. We didn't really plan on getting into that, but it just kind of sparked the conversation here. Yeah. Another thing, too, is interesting is in this draft, there might be a couple teams that we don't expect to maybe move up for a quarterback. You know, you look at the Chargers right now. They're in the capital for possibly drafting their future. And there are plenty of quarterbacks to be had. There's at least 4 quarterbacks that you could say that you could make an argument that they should be picked early with some team or another. The Chargers are an interesting team, too, because we go into free agency now. Everyone's saying, oh, they're going to draft. But there's some quarterbacks. There's a couple of quarterbacks that have big names, that have a lot of spotlight on them. Guys like Cam Newton and Jameis Winston. Yep. Those are 2 guys right now that are available in free agency currently. According to NFLTradeRumors.com, they have Cam Newton as the number 1 available free agent, as well as Jameis Winston as the number 3 available free agent. Now, do you think the Chargers, of all these teams, do you think the Chargers might be tempted to maybe bring in a guy like Cam or Jameis?
See, when I was looking at a lot of these QBs, trying to figure out where they're going, I kind of had Cam pitched as possibly a guy to look for the Chargers.
Yeah.
I don't like the move personally, but I could definitely see him going there. I don't know how well he'll fit in, but they just untooled. You got guys, Gordon's gone.
Right.
A lot of moving pieces, but I could see them bringing in Cam, maybe drafting a QB to sit behind him. Yeah, from a QB that's been there, done that in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is like they've also the Chargers themselves have come out publicly and they say that Tyrod Taylor, they feel completely comfortable starting the season with Tyrod Taylor. Now, we've all seen Tyrod Taylor. Some people make fun of his career and say that he's a terrible quarterback. He's not very good. But he has shown some flashes here and there with the Buffalo Bills, and now that he is kind of almost thrusted right back into that quarterback competition now, they feel comfortable if he's the starter. However, if they do bring in a guy like Cam, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think Cam Newton, and you mentioned that he may or may not fit that offensive scheme, but at least he's got weapons there. You know, you look at a guy like Keenan Allen who's there. You look at Mike Williams, who is now coming into his 3rd season. Maybe he keeps his developmental progress going into his 3rd year. Austin Eckler, I think he's earned the right as the starting running back. A lot of Charger fans out there are probably pretty disappointed that Gordon's not there with them still. Yeah. However, Eckler proved himself, didn't he? I mean, he's probably one of the more durable guys that they've had in a long time. And now with Gordon out of the limelight, we've seen Austin Eckler kind of really take off when he was the starter for the Chargers. Do you think there will be any drop-off at all with Eckler coming into this year?
I don't believe so. When he had to take over the starting role last season, you saw a lot of production. He brings almost a receiving threat to the backfield that Gordon at this point was just not bringing. Yeah, he might not bring the per carry yards that Gordon was putting out there. He might not be that guy who's going to get 20 to 30 carries, going up the middle, but he's still a great running back in my opinion, dual threat. Not top 10, but very effective running back nonetheless.
Right. So if Cam comes into this environment, let's just say, for example, he signs tomorrow. Signs a 1-year deal, prove-it deal type of thing with the Chargers. Probably takes over the job over Tyrod Taylor. I don't know how you feel about it, but with Austin Eckler in the backfield, with Hunter Henry as his tight end, as Keenan Allen as his receiver, Mike Williams as his other receiver, if they could shore up that offensive line a little bit more, and that defense that they have, that young stud defense, they could really make a big turnaround. What do you think?
There's always the possibility. We saw what Cam could do a while ago, as me and you talked about it earlier with the Twin Towers on offense when they had Greg Olsen healthy. He was able to get production, but I don't know. After seeing these last few seasons, just seeing the passes just nowhere near the mark, I don't know. I'm not really sold on Cam being able to still be a top QB in this league. Right.
Now, for sure, that offense would be different than what he's normally used to running. It's not going to be like the Carolina offense with, Rivera as the head coach and that kind of like running quarterback option throw type of offense that they used to run in Carolina. However, I do think it might be a decent fit for him because now they might not even ask him to run that much at all.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll help preserve his body and kind of play off. He'll be able to still run once in a while here, but I think that overall that it would be a place where it would at least be a stopgap move that the Chargers could make instead of kind of just solely relying on Tyrod Taylor not having any option going into the draft. Maybe, just maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I could definitely see him getting behind it, but I don't know. The thing with Cam is I always
Still
no.
no.
Nah, I'm still. The thing that always set him apart for me was his ability to run. It always that gave him that extra oomph. To be able to run right at you. He's a big dude, but
Yeah.
I've never really been a big fan of his arm, and I just don't think he could handle being purely a pocket passer.
Gotcha. We got a couple of know-it-alls in the house. Zach Walker comes in. He has something to say. Jameis Winston, what does he say? I think doesn't deserve
to be a starter.
I don't think he deserves to be a starter. Let me just change that. I don't think he deserves to be a starter personally. I think is just lazy with his work ethic and just doesn't what?
Doesn't learn
from his mistakes and
does he make a lot of them?
Boy, does he make a lot of them. Well, we do know that, it's not confirmed yet, but there might be an ESPN 30 for 30 special for Jameis Winston for throwing 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. We know that's not ideal for any franchise. I really don't think he's lazy per se.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go to that extent.
For Jameis Winston, to me, it's all about decision making. It's about correcting his footwork, and for God's sakes, man, hold on to the football.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had way too many turnovers. You've seen it game to game on him either fumbling or making a bad decision, trying to force the ball somewhere. We've also seen the other side of Winston where he's made some miraculous throws, some off-balance throws, and has hit the receivers with a dime. But with Jameis Winston now also, he's another quarterback in the free agency available. Do you think there's a team that could quite possibly add him? Maybe not as a starter, but maybe he could be a decent backup and maybe hope to be a starter once again.
If you can pair him with the right head coach, QB coach combination, if you just got to find a way to limit the turnovers. You've seen flashes of an elite quarterback. You've seen flashes of that franchise guy, but it's always you don't see it as much when he throws, touchdown followed by a touchdown to the wrong team. He's always almost offset himself with that, but
right.
I joked here and there about maybe seeing him go to a team like the Patriots. Maybe Belichick could help him get his act in order over there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Lot simpler of an offense.
It's a complex offense. Now, here's the thing is if he does say he goes to New England, that offensive playbook is so complex. You have to be not only super smart, but you got to be right on point. Yeah. You got to be on your toes. That's what made Brady so great in that offense, is that he could handle the whole playbook. He knew it like the back of his hand. And there's an option route for every receiver on every single given play. So do you think Winston could handle that kind of that responsibility in New England, taking on that playbook and delivering?
I'd say for the most part, I could see him potentially delivering. Maybe having a little trouble with some of the options. If he can't get the chemistry going right off the rip, you could definitely see him throwing. A guy's supposed to go right, he throws it right to the left to the corner kind of deal. Stuff you saw a lot in Tampa whenever he'd have to hit some of those timing routes.
Yeah, we all know that he has a strong arm and everything, but maybe, just maybe, you might be onto something that if he did happen to land with New England, he's only got to throw the ball short pretty much.
Yeah.
Once in a while, he'll let it rip and go test the defense and go deep. Not a lot will be asked of him. Maybe he can make that transition if he can handle the playbook, though. Another note all we got is Joseph Bordelon. I don't know how to pronounce your name either, brother. So here's the thing. This is Raider Bear. If you know him, he's a great guy. Great show. He has the Raider Bear Family Show. It's on, I think, nightly. I mean, it's always on on the Eastern timeline zone. It's probably more like 11 o'clock. He's a West Coast guy. He's from Cali. Give it up for Raider Bear. He's amazing. What a great dude. Does a phenomenal Raider show. So any Raider fans that are know-it-alls, make sure you go and check out Raider Bear. Great dude. Jimmy, can you do me a favor? Can you scroll back up so I can read his first comment? There we go. He goes, Raider Bear! There he is. There's that guy. He says, Cam Newton has struggled with accuracy throughout his career, and now he's struggling with injuries. He doesn't have the mental makeup to deal with adjustments to a pocket passer. He's done. Great show, guys. Thank you, Raider Bear. Appreciate it. Much love. Appreciate the comment. But he's right. I mean, I'm trying to at least help the guy out to get a job.
Yeah.
And I despise Cam. I do. I'll admit it. I know it's a shock to some of you all. I don't like Cam at all. But I do think he deserves to at least be a backup now. I think, he could be a stopgap type of backup dude just to come in. Who knows? Maybe that's what the Chargers are thinking. Maybe they will bring him in. Maybe he'll just be a backup to Tyrod Taylor. I know that kind of sounds funny saying that right now. But nonetheless, he is. He's banged up. Raider Bear is absolutely right. He is banged up. And now, why do you think the Panthers moved on from him? I mean, really, a team that, yes, we all know, like now, we're saying, oh, well, they signed Teddy Bridgewater. That's why he's on the way out. Okay, fine. Good point. How about before then? Did you see that coming? I mean, the thing with Cam is because of these injuries that have mounted up in his career, because of the absolute brute physicality that he's had to deal with running that kind of run-style offense, it's time to pay the piper. He's dealt with a lot with injuries, and now up to this point, he could very well be done, period. Maybe teams don't want to touch him now because of that history. We'll have to wait and see if another team maybe kind of surprises us and adds him as like an insurance policy maybe for their starter or something. But nonetheless, Raider Bear also comments, he goes, Cam Newton is RG3 with a bigger body. Well, yeah, that's that. I could get on board with that. Also, totally agree with Joe. No way Cam works in Beach Heatland.
That's fancy.
Mike Tackett's back with us. He comments. He goes, what was Cam able to do with crossfade? Was that consistent Pro Bowl O-lineman, good defense, solid running backs, Stewart, Williams, McCaffrey, and a Hall of Fame tight end and wide receiver? Not much. Now his legs are gone. Cam brings only wardrobe distractions, of course. The guy wants to be on the runway, I think. And especially with his Instagram and everything. That's all he does. He takes fashionable photos and everything of hats, weird sunglasses, weird outfits, distractions, and a bad attitude. Although Anthony Lynn loves his mobile QBs. We'll see. Definitely, Mike. And that's the thing. That's why I kind of brought up the Chargers, because it would be it's a place where they could add not one, but they could add a couple of quarterbacks besides Tyrod Taylor. And maybe that could be a route that they kind of go into as we get closer to the draft. Maybe they try to see who's out there and who wants Cam, competition-wise, to sign him. And if they're interested, they call him up, give him an offer on the cheap, bring him in. He can compete against Tyrod Taylor, and all the meanwhile, they still draft their future quarterback.
Yeah, well, makes sense.
So, also, oh my goodness, Dave Rourke, another know-it-all in the show. Welcome to the show, Dave. He goes, I don't like Cam either. Not many people do, apparently. Never did, always thought he was an overrated quarterback. Dave, this is why we love you, because you speak the truth. So, and this is the thing is with Cam, I have a bad history of Cam. Guys from ESPN Radio, 104.5 The Team, always questioned why I hated Cam so much until I kind of just dumped a whole boatload of info on him. And he's like, wow, all right, I guess Joe's got a lot to talk about with Cam. So, but yeah, I mean, the thing is, too, is the receivers and everything that he had before. Like, he didn't, we talked about this before. He didn't have to be the super accurate type of quarterback. He didn't have to hit those tight windows and everything, and he couldn't. Because, quite honestly, he just had to throw it close to these guys with big, huge catching radiuses, like a Kelvin Benjamin, like a Devin Funchess, and so forth. And now he got a little taste of Christian McCaffrey where he just would dump it off to him all the time. Greg Olsen, who was his best buddy, all-time great tight end for the Panthers, he relied heavily on him because he was always open because he was going to beat the linebackers. So now, we talk about Cam this, Cam that, but going back to Jameis Winston here, he's also been a guy that's he's been beaten down by a lot of people, a lot of critics and everything like that. Forget Patriots for a second. Let's think of a different team. What about the Jacksonville Jaguars? Same Florida State. They have right now they have Gardner Minshew, who they're kind of relying on as a starter right now. What about bringing Winston into that Jacksonville offense, and maybe he could beat out Gardner Minshew for that starting role?
I could definitely see the possibility. You got plenty of talent over there right now in Jacksonville in the receiving core. You got your big catching radius guy like Keelan Cole. Mm-hmm. They got the targets. You got a great backfield with Fournette, who's arguably a top 5 back when he's healthy, at least. I think I could maybe see him doing well over there. As long as he can limit the turnovers. I just don't know if they say maybe have the coaching staff to really handle him.
Right. Another big free agent that's out there. Not a quarterback. I know it's surprising. Now we're not going to talk about quarterbacks. Is pass rusher Jadeveon Clowney. This guy has been asking for a huge deal. He's 27 years old. He does create a lot of pressure no matter what team he goes to, but sometimes the sacks aren't too consistent. We noticed that this past year with the Seattle Seahawks, he only had 3 sacks all season.
Yeah.
Had quarterback pressures, but he's also had this kind of reputation where he takes plays off sometimes. Some people have always questioned, even coming out of college, his work ethic. Does he work real hard? Is he going to be a guy that's there for you leadership-wise with the team in the locker room? Is he a good locker room guy? Clowney's got a lot of questions. We've seen his playmaking ability at times throughout the season, this past season. Even though he had 3 sacks, he had quite a few quarterback pressures. He actually had a pick for a touchdown this year. And for a defensive end / outside linebacker, whatever you want to label him, is Jadeveon Clowney ever do you think that a team out there now is going to offer him anything close to $20 million a year?
At this point, I think most of that ship has sailed. I like Clowney, but for $20 million, you want that elite guy. You want that guy that's going to be there every game, and he's battled through plenty of injuries already through his career. And, yeah, he didn't have the sacks, but last year, when you look at how Seattle was doing on their defense pass rush-wise, before Clowney gets there, they're bottom tier, 28th, I think it was, in pressures. And then Clowney comes on, and all of a sudden this defense is getting the pass rush. Guys, the corners like Shaquille Griffin aren't having to cover for 5-10 seconds every single play. And that's when you saw the defense really keeping them in games after that.
Yeah, and we know one of the teams that are really hot on his tail is the New York Giants. Your New York Giants, as well as Jimmy's.
Yeah.
They've been super interested from the start. Obviously shocked by the price tag. That $20 million price tag is very hard to swallow for teams. Unless you're given 10-plus sacks a year.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not a fan of just saying, well, if he doesn't have this many sacks, he doesn't deserve a contract. It also is about quarterback pressures, too. And he does a very good job of that. But with the Giants now, his price tag obviously has to come down because he's hit the first wave. He's riding the second wave now, and we're still not hearing any rumors about him possibly going, now he's going to talk in contract talks with any one team. But the Giants have been the most interested, I feel. With Clowney, how much farther do you think he has to drop his price range for the Giants to just say, okay, let's make this deal happen?
I'd say he has to go down a bit. I'm not saying drop, all the way to like 11 or 12. I'd say I could probably see between
15?
14 to 16 kind of deal for him. So we're bringing in a guy who's gonna, be the main focal point of your pass rushers, take a lot of pressure off your other guys.
Uh-huh.
And Giants have some pretty good interior linemen. You see them tagging guys like Williams. Sadly, we let Golden go even after a good season, but
yeah,
we have a big hole right now. We were bad enough last year in terms of getting pressure on the QB.
Okay.
If you bring in a guy like Clowney, it could potentially work wonders for us as long as he can stay on the field.
Now, we noticed also the Giants make a couple of moves in terms of linebacker. We know that they got rid of Alec Ogletree, and however, you are getting back a guy that you like in Ryan Connolly, right? Yeah. What do you think now? Also, they also added Kyle. Man, his name is weird. Kyle Fackrell.
Yep, the corner.
The linebacker from Green Bay, and also Blake Martinez as well to kind of help fulfill that role that hasn't been there for a while. But if Connolly comes back completely healthy, and you have Blake and you have Kyle, do you think the Giants still need to target that linebacking core?
I think we're doing pretty good in the linebacking core. As long as I really liked what I saw from Conley. He was a guy I liked a lot coming out of the draft. Not your fastest, not your strongest linebacker
but a
coming
baller.
out. But yeah. But you can't teach things like instincts. That was stuff that just came naturally, and you saw that in plays like, even in the preseason and at Wisconsin. He was a guy who's just always there. He's always forcing the blockers to have to adjust to where he's going. And then you also bring in a guy like Blake, who he's always near top 10 in the NFL in tackles every year.
Dude's very good player.
Very similar. I would love to see how him and Conley maybe work together if you put them both out there at the same time at the linebacker spot.
Yeah, especially if you bring in Clowney. Maybe that could be a really special unit right there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Raider Bear also coming in. He goes, Clowney benefited from the super hit he made in college. It made him. And you know what? I'll just finish real quick. Flat out, super overrated. A good player, but great. But great?
Great, yes.
Now he's skinny Ndamukong Suh. I like the analogy. But I love the comment. Appreciate it. Thanks. And you know what? He is right. I mean, when he was coming out of college, he had all these accolades, a high number of sacks, like 15-plus sacks in college, was kind of blowing up his name of all the sacks that he got. Everybody talked about sacks with him. And, yes, that's a big part of being a pass rusher. However, the defense he was coming out of, they schemed for him to get free. With that kind of athleticism and that speed that he had, it was hard for the other teams to even counter it. You know what I mean? So he kind of bolstered his stats that way. Now we look at him in the NFL, and yes, there is a love affair with many fans about Clowney. They like how athletic he is and his speed and all that and creating pressures. But do you think that Clowney is now getting humbled a little bit in this free agency now that he's hit this amount of length of time going into it?
I mean, I can hope so. It's a little disconcerting to see no rumors of him meeting with teams or nothing coming out. Maybe he's trying to stay firm on his price tag, which I don't know if I see any teams going up that high and paying him like an elite pass rusher. It's just he's always been, even in Houston, he was just a very good complimentary guy to always have. Yeah. Him and JJ was pretty special to watch for a while, as long as both of them were actually out there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to say the least to see where Clowney finally goes. We do know that the Giants are one of the premier teams that have been in on him from day one. Also, Seattle would love to have him back. I've heard also that Seattle's trying to sign him, but I don't think it's going to be for the $20 million tag. And to me, it's going to be the team that just pays him the most, really. The price tag is not going to be $20 million. It's going to be what team offers me the most, the quickest. You know what I mean? When he gets his agent's going to look at all these teams, or I don't even know how many there are involved. I know a few, but when they put their offers out, he's going to be like, oh, well, the Giants offered you this, Seattle offered you this, and X team offered you that. Yeah. Who do you want to go to? You know what I mean? Yep. I think it's going to be the highest paid guy, highest paid team for him.
Yeah, it seems like what he's leaning towards at this point.
Yeah, right. Also, Raider Bear, he also commented, he goes, new topic. He goes, the debate between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, meaning who makes it back first to a Super Bowl and proves they were the catalyst to the dynasty and their 6 rings. Ridiculous. Be it the Patriots on the
Buccaneers
or the Buccaneers that gets a ring that proves nothing. Well, other than that, the press and this stupid, thirsty love affair they have with all things New England needs to die yesterday, it's sooner.
Of a man named Brady.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for that. But yeah, you know what? And I've heard the same thing. I've heard this kind of debate where, who do you think gets there? Who do you think gets to the Super Bowl and proves that they were the catalyst? Is it Tom Brady, or is it Bill Belichick? I'll use his words.
I mean, Brady's already got a ticking clock, in my opinion. He's only got a couple seasons left, and while I do like the Buccaneers, I don't think they're going to be contending for a Super Bowl. I think they can get to the playoffs, but
you think they'll make the playoffs this year in Tom Brady's first year?
I want to see which Brady I get. I want to see how he does outside of the Belichick system.
Okay.
We've seen plenty of other QBs come in. You saw Garoppolo, you saw Brissett, you saw even Matt Castle for a season brought them almost to the playoffs, one game out. But the team has still succeeded, even with maybe less talented QBs back there. I don't know. I'm not sold on the whole Brady bringing a Super Bowl to the Buccaneers kind of thing like a lot of people are.
So you think Bill Belichick is going to bring the Patriots back to the Super Bowl, or do you think possibly neither one gets there?
It'll be some time. But the New England, while I do love Bill Belichick and I think he is a great coach, there's just not a lot of talent left in New England. Just especially for even a playoff run, I'd say they'd be lucky to get that far this year.
I gotcha. So for me, I've heard this debate, and I'm kind of like neutral in this argument. I honestly don't believe that Brady or Belichick, if we're taking the rosters currently right now.
Yeah.
So you have Tom Brady there. Who's the quarterback for New England at this point? Obviously, they do like Stidham. We've heard that.
Yeah.
But how much do they really like Stidham? Do they like him enough to say, it's pretty much his job, and we're just going to maybe draft a guy to groom later, or maybe we'll sign an available free agent that they think that they could bring in and get him acclimated to the playbook? Do you think they could win with Stidham? Like right now?
So maybe. They've always been weird with just finding almost like a magical way to find system players. They could take some guy we aren't even talking about right now from the free agency. All of a sudden, he'll go to their team, and he'll put up numbers like he hasn't put up since his second year in the league kind of thing. Stidham, obviously, I'd have to see a little more before I can be sold on him. And then you also got guys like Brian Hoyer, who's been pretty solid.
Yeah, now Brian Hoyer signed. I mean, I don't know about you, but I saw that coming a mile away. I mean, he loves New England. So, and there was even a report out there that said if Brian Hoyer was offered $1 million like he was for 1 year, and another team offered him $4 million, he would still choose New England. That's how much he loves New England. So Hoyer's comfortable. He knows the offensive system. I don't know. Maybe Hoyer could start.
Yeah,
Do you think he could start over Stidham?
I believe so. Yeah, he's been in the league longer. He knows how to succeed at this level a little more than Stidham. I haven't seen enough from Stidham to really critique his play outside of preseason, but there's a possibility.
Raider Bear also, he's coming in hot here. He said, sharing now. Let me pump this group up. He's sharing our group, growing it. Appreciate it. Much appreciated. Michael Guerrero, he has a comment in for us. He goes, and with, what does it say? He goes, the 81st pick, the mighty Las Vegas Raiders select. Oh, now it just changed.
That's still there. Shaq
Quinterman, linebacker, Miami. I appreciate the comment, Mike. Yes, excellent. So there you have it, everybody. Michael Guerrero is already predicting the 81st pick for the Las Vegas Raiders.
That'd be pretty
I like it.
amazing.
And I'm gonna pay attention really closely to see if you're right, Mike. We appreciate the comment. Love it. Also, we have Bob. Was it Bob?
Bob Dar.
Bob Dar. Are you guys talking about the
sucking near?
Also, Raider Bear also comments. He goes, share the show and get in the know. I like it. That's our saying, get in the know. And appreciate you, Raider Bear, very much. Much love, buddy. Also, if any Raider fans are just kind of tuning in and whatnot, and you aren't already joined with the Raider Bear Live, the Raider Bear Family Talk Show, you have to get on board. It is one of the best Raider shows that I've witnessed, and that's why I'm a longtime fan for Raider Bear. I really appreciate his knowledge. Drops the knowledge every day. for the Raiders, and great dude. You gotta check him out. Also, we have Jared Butler, new know-it-all, coming into the show here. Welcome to the show. Appreciate it. They could win the division, maybe. That's
it.
I like it. Very short, very direct.
Yeah.
He says,
got his point.
I don't think they're done. I think they could still possibly win the division. Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
They got a lot to work on right now.
Yeah.
Raider Bear also commented, he goes, Winston to the Chargers is intriguing. I hate the powder blue stupid Chargers, but dude throws the rock. And a lot of interceptions, but I'd risk it. And, that's the thing, too, is it is an interesting thing because he does have a cannon for an arm. It could work. It could work. It's a big if.
Yeah.
It's a big risk, but he is still in his prime. Maybe he does need to change his scenery, maybe a completely new coaching staff yet again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, do you think that would work? Do you think if Winston signed instead of Cam to the Chargers, do you think Winston could work in L.A.?
There's a possibility. You have very similar talent that would be around him. You still got, your premier receiver, Keenan Allen. You got a great red zone guy with Williams, Hunter Henry. He's always had the weapons. Maybe the change of scenery could help limit the interceptions,
right.
But I don't know. I
still
just
iffy on that.
I just don't see many coaching staffs being able to limit that at this point. It's been so many years into his career, and there's just a lack of adjustment. Almost getting worse these last few seasons with just recklessness.
Yeah, I mean, when you have all those weapons, too, in Tampa, you'd think that would help his play, too.
Yeah.
And he threw 30 interceptions last year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's brutal for any
that's
quarterback.
pretty
Doesn't
tough.
matter the touchdown
You are
numbers.
Smelly pirate hooker.
Mike, that's not directed towards you. Not at all. Michael Guerrero, he also comes in and says, I would like to take Winston in to steal crab legs, in my opinion. That is a very astute opinion there. I mean, I think if you're going to take anybody to steal crab legs, it's got to be Jameis, right?
Yeah, no, he's do that pretty well.
He's got plenty of experience for that as well.
Yeah.
We're just talking about some free agents that are out there, talking some scenarios and whatnot. Also, let's talk about a guy who kind of goes under the radar here. A D tackle by the name of Shelby Harris. Not a huge name. If you're not a Broncos fan, maybe you haven't even heard of him before.
Yeah.
But he's kind of really shined in with the Denver Broncos this past year. A lot of pass deflections he's knocked down. Had a few sacks. He is he's 29 still, but the Broncos really love him. They want to keep him.
Yeah.
He's almost on the cusp of being a Pro Bowler from last year. Shelby Harris. Do you think he ends up back with Denver?
I could see Denver going out and getting him back. I do like Shelby Harris. I would like to see a little more production if they give him the starting role again.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been a great guy to come off the bench, sub in here, sub in there, come in for an injury.
Right.
If I could see that same level of play throughout the entire game as a starter, I would love to have him on just about any team.
Yeah, I mean, he's an intriguing guy. I mean, he's been under the radar for a long period of time. He hasn't really gotten the recognition, at this point in his career. But the Broncos absolutely love him. If they could actually keep him in Denver, I think that really helps solidify that D line there. Also, another guy is Everson Griffin, guy that's 32 years old. He's seasoned from Minnesota. He's already told Minnesota Vikings, he's like, no, I had enough of wearing the purple now, guys. I want to change jerseys. I want a new color. I'm looking for a team that really, really wants me. Do you have a team in mind where you think Everson Griffin could possibly land? A team that might need a D-end now, maybe as a stopgap type of guy.
Maybe. I mean, Everson's been surprisingly pretty good for
Productive,
the last
right?
few seasons.
Yeah.
Even as he's getting older, you're just not seeing a production drop off. And there are a lot of teams that could be using, that just good pass rusher, consistent guy, and even a mentor for young players as he's getting a little older now.
Yeah.
That's still able to play at that high level despite, maybe
Absolutely.
not being as quick as he once was. He's found a good way to adjust as he's getting older.
Yeah, I think he would be a great player for any team that needs him, even if they were able to bring him in. I know he's 32 years old, and usually people kind of get a little little worried that, when you get past 30 in the NFL, your bones start to hurt more, your joints start to ache the next day, and you don't even want to get out of bed and all these things. But Everson Griffin has kind of been almost like the bionic man. He's still productive. He still is a terror off the edge. And for a team at this point in the free agency, you could possibly get him for a bargain now with his age and get a really, really good player. Also, another free agent coming out. Wait, we got some more comments here from the know-it-all section here. We got Bob Dar. Bob Dar, appreciate the comment. Welcome to the show once again. I've seen a lot of mock drafts. If CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy are available at 12, let me know. Who do you guys pick at 12? This is kind of a scenario that me and my dad talked about. Which receiver do you go with? Because this is, to me, in my personal opinion, it's 1A, 1B. It's about what you're looking for in a receiver. They're a little bit different from each other.
Yeah.
You have CeeDee Lamb, who's more of that physical, he runs good routes. He's physical. He makes tremendous catches, has great hands, and is very explosive, especially after the catch. Jerry Jeudy, in my opinion, is another big play type of receiver. He's a tick faster than CD. He runs the best routes out of anybody in this draft, and quite honestly, possibly in the past 10 to 15 years. He's one of the receivers that runs very refined routes, has good hands, has a 4.4 40 speed, and it is looking really nice. But in your opinion, if you're at 12 and you're looking for a receiver, who do you go for? Do you go for CeeDee Lamb or maybe Jerry Jeudy?
Well, I do like CeeDee Lamb and what he's able to do after the catch. If I'm having to make that pick, I'm putting my money on Jerry Jeudy. Just the ability with his route running just puts him a big step ahead of CeeDee Lamb in my book. Yeah.
For me, if that's my choice and that's the one I'm making, I'm also going to pick Jerry Jeudy because and not to say that CeeDee Lamb I don't think is as good as Jerry Jeudy, but I like a receiver that runs pristine routes, and he has 4.4 40 speed. Now, CeeDee Lamb ran a 4.5. It's not a huge difference.
Yeah.
But in terms of top-end speed, and you need a guy that also push deep down the field, I really do strongly feel about Jerry Jeudy in that situation. Raider Bear, you also got you here. Why hasn't Everson Griffin been picked up? Great player. We just talked about that. Raider Bear also says Griffin plays like a Raider. I would love him to join the Raiders. Also, we got Michael Guerrero. Will Paul Gunther survive the 2020 season? I think by season's end, real quick, I don't think he's going to last. We've seen last couple of years hasn't been able to produce even with better talent last year. I think his end is coming. Tyrone Thompson, welcome to the show. Appreciate it. Know it all. How can we follow, man? Shared 10 times. Appreciate it. Appreciate it so much. Shared 10 times. I appreciate it very much. You can go ahead and follow us on Football on the No Show. We are on Facebook. You hit us up on YouTube, Football on the No Show. Go ahead and search it up there. Hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell while you're on YouTube so you can get all the latest and greatest updated content. You can also tune into us. Yes, that's right. We are on Twitter as well. We are all over the place, baby. And on Twitter, we try to do our best to keep you updated with all the NFL content coming out. It's been a crazy last few days with free agency, with trades and everything, and my fingers hurt right now. They're a little numb from all the info I had to post on Facebook and also on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter at FB_no. This is something that we love to do. We love talking football. If you're just tuning in and you're new to the show, Cody is our special guest for tonight here on the show. Also, we have our legend, Jim McAfee. He's the guy that usually sits in that chair, but Cody's keeping it warm for him and doing a great job. But you'll see Jim at other shows. Also, we have appreciate everybody joining us right now. This is awesome. We really love you guys out there. Much love. Michael Guerrero, what do you have to say? He goes in with the 80th pick, the mighty Las Vegas Raiders select Michael Pittman Jr. from USC. So we just talked about the scenario if the Raiders pick number 12, who you take, CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. Now he's got them taking a receiver in the third round with Michael Pittman Jr. And here's this just goes to show you, Michael, this shows you how deep this draft is. This draft for the wide receiving core is so incredibly deep. It's deeper than any draft I've witnessed.
Yep.
You could potentially get a first-round graded receiver potentially in the third round. And Michael Pittman Jr. is that kind of guy. That would be amazing if he was available. It could happen. We'll have to wait and see. Michael Guerrero, Joe Exotic is my idol. In my opinion. I like it. Much appreciated, Mike. Also, Bob Dars tuning in. He goes, thanks, guys, but I'm sticking with CeeDee Lamb. The Raiders has a short passing game. I can't. What is
This
that?
is Lampkin.
Lampkin. CeeDee Lamb. Break tackles. Therefore, yards after catch would be big in the West Coast offense, and John Gruden runs. Bob Dar, you're absolutely right. With that offense, it does fit Lamb, but man, I'm telling you right now, the Raiders need a guy to really push the ball deep. CeeDee Lamb could do that. Not saying he couldn't, but when you just bring that up there, we have guys already that can handle that. They have guys. They have Hunter Renfrow that can handle the short game to intermediate game. You got Tyrell Williams. He also is a guy that is a little underrated, can push the ball down the field, but he's another guy that can handle that short to intermediate game. And then if you bring in a guy like Jerry Jeudy, just my opinion, but I think Jerry Jeudy gives you that next great number one wide receiver on the outside opposite Williams. I think that would be a match made in heaven for Gruden. Cody, what say you? You still sticking with Jerry Jeudy even though one of our know-it-alls is choosing CeeDee Lamb?
I'd say for the most part, but I get what he's saying. When you look
Absolutely.
at a guy like CeeDee Lamb, he was a lot more dominant after the catch than Jeudy was.
Mm-hmm.
While I do like Jeudy on most teams, but I do see his point. Because you did mention guys like Renfrow and guys like Williams who do kind of lack the after-the-catch moves that CeeDee Lamb possesses.
Mm-hmm.
Could potentially add another part to their offense.
Yeah, I mean, hey, to be honest with you, if they're taking CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, I am not going to be disappointed with either pick. I'll just say that. Much appreciated. Thanks, everybody. Thanks all you know-it-alls out there. You are the guys that keep this show running. We really appreciate it. Share, like, do whatever you feel like. We really appreciate you supporting us. Also on YouTube, make sure you go on YouTube and try to bring up those numbers over there and subscribers. Go ahead, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell to get all of our updated content. And also follow us on Twitter. Make sure you do that. Hit us up at FB_no. But other than that, we also have another free agent to talk about here. A guy that kind of had a almost like a rebirth, I would say, for the Tennessee Titans, a cornerback in Logan Ryan. For last year, when he was the starting corner, he actually didn't do too bad of a job. He filled the shoes pretty well at that starting position. Because you look at Malcolm Brown, he wasn't available, and the much injured cornerbacks position that they had, Logan Ryan was thrust into that starting gig. Logan Ryan's an interesting name now. There's other teams right now that are looking for a cornerback. Do you think Logan Ryan fits only a specific scheme to where he has to play maybe predominant zone or man?
I mean, I've liked Logan Ryan for years. He's a guy who can do a bit of everything. Mm-hmm. He's always shown on any team he's been on, Patriots, Tennessee. He's always been pretty solid. Man, zone, going up for 50-50 balls. The guy seems to be able to do a lot, and he's kind of underrated most seasons. The guy's been pretty good for years now. I'd love to see him on just about any team. Wouldn't mind to see the Giants snag up a guy like that.
Yeah, right.
To be honest.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like there's plenty of teams out there. I'm curious. I'm wondering because according to NFLTradeRumors.com, they have Logan Ryan right now as the 6th best available free agent, and you gotta wonder for a guy who he's 29. He's not over the hill, but he could still definitely help you. Why is he still there? I mean, when you got guys like Eli Apple who signed, come on.
Yeah, they're a little cheaper.
I think. Do you think that Logan Ryan is asking for too much, maybe? Or do you think he's kind of...
Teams might just be scared off by getting a little up there in age. and
Maybe.
Cornerbacks do have a pretty short
Right,
shelf life as it is.
We also have another know-it-all, John Wallace. What's going on, John? First time listening. Will Coach Gruden let Coach Gruden let Carr down field 40 yards passes to
fast
wide receivers like Lamb or Judy? Yeah, 100%. What do you think?
I could see it. Carr definitely has the ability, and while they do try and limit him seemingly to some of these shorter passes, it's mainly because they don't really have that dominant deep threat. I like Williams, but as a number one, I think he's more of a very good complementary receiver, not a number one guy.
Yeah, with that offense with Gruden, it's similar to a West Coast offense. That's what he likes to run, but they do take shots down the field. Let's say it doesn't matter who it is, CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy. If they have that number one wide receiver there, do you think that offense is going to open up even more because maybe they take more shots?
Yeah, no, I could definitely see it opening up the offense a bit more. You saw sometimes where teams were able to crowd the box a bit, trying to limit Jacobs, while not really being able to give up much on the back end. Guys like Williams is very fast, big receiver, a little iffy sometimes on his route running. And I love Renfro because the he's just a baller, got great hands, runs great routes, but he's not the fastest, not the greatest after the catch.
Yeah, that's not something that he was known for out of the scouting combine, right?
Just adding one of those guys would add something that the offense has definitely been lacking for some time now.
Definitely. Tyrone Thompson, what's going on, buddy? Appreciate it, bro. Just subscribed on YouTube. Much appreciated. Thank you, Tyrone. Well appreciated. He's officially a know-it-all, everybody. You heard it here first. Yeah! Okay, so we talk about cornerback Logan Ryan real quick. Also, another corner that I don't know how I feel about this. Cody, what do you think about Prince Amukamara? Do you think he has anything left in the gas tank?
I've been kind of iffy on. I liked him a lot coming out because I thought maybe he could become that dominant guy a lot of people thought he could be, and I don't know. He seems to almost decline a lot of these years, gives up a lot of deep plays.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe
So let me ask you this.
He's a decent depth guy at this point.
Okay.
But I don't think I'd take him as anything more than that.
So we all seen some success with Chicago,
Yeah.
kind of late in his career. Prince Amukamara, who's now available at 31 years old. Yay or nay, do you think he signs with a team this year? Or you think he's done?
I think a team could take a shot on him. Whether it's now or later, I'm not sure. It all depends on what he's asking for and if teams are okay with just grabbing a guy that's good for depth. If he has to come in because someone's hurt, it's not really going to hurt too much. He's still a solid corner, but he's not really someone you can come to rely on at this point.
Think there's a chance he returns to the Giants?
God, I hope not.
I had to throw it out there.
Somebody kill me!
Tyrone, our new know-it-all, now comes in with a comment. He goes, do you think Gruden should use Mariota like the Saints use Hill? Or Taysom Hill. Yeah. I'm going to say no real quick. Cody, if you think, do you think that would even work with that offensive system with is Mariota really like a Taysom Hill?
No, because the thing, Taysom Hill, he's not, big top-end speed, but the dude, he runs like a running back, and you even see him, get out and block. You see him go out and catch. Mariota, I just don't think he has that. I mean, yeah, we saw that one catch when the ball was swatted down from Darrelle Revis, but I don't think he could bring that. Maybe some kind of creative package here and there, but I couldn't see anything too crazy.
Yeah, it seems to me because you look at Mariota and you don't see Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's built really differently. Great physique. He's big and strong enough to handle those hits that he needs to take from time to time. Mariota, to me, he's just purely a quarterback. You don't want him to get hit because, let's be honest, the guy's not the strongest body type. We also have Michael Guerrero said offensive guard, Cush, good pickup. Yeah, good pickup for the Raiders. You're right, Mike. Bob Dar also comes in. He goes, will you guys be on Facebook at certain time? Where do I find the following button? So if you go to our page, it probably is the easier thing to do. Football on the Know. and you get to our page, there is a big blue button where you can click, and that'll take you right to our group, and you become a member that way. Or you can just go straight to our group. You just have to search Football on the Know Show, and we'll pop up, and then get on there, become a member, become a know-it-all, share. Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciated that one.
All I have to say is Jim as a producer is full of activity over there. That's all I got to say. He is dialed in. He's making it happen over there. He's the silent ambassador for the show right now. Jim, thank you for pushing through and making this happen. Bob Dar.
You're real nice. If I didn't have puke breath, I'd kiss you.
Nice. All right, here we go. Jose Martinez, welcome to the show. He goes, do you think Gruden will develop creative plays this year or stick with this caveman offense? Go for it.
It all depends on what they do in the draft. I'd say you kind of have to keep it kind of simple if you keep the same weapons you got. You know, Jacobs is obviously very talented, but if you keep the same receivers, you can't do anything too complex. But I could see them definitely changing up and going away from the caveman offense if you're able to get a guy like CD or Judy that can just take the top off the defense.
You know, I mean, I think that, you know, fans out there are going to be a little agitated with the offense and how it's run and everything. But this offense is Gruden's offense. I think the biggest problem is that what you just mentioned is getting that number one receiver.
Yeah.
You get that clear-cut number one receiver, I think that opens up the whole playbook. It goes right to what you were saying. It doesn't confine Gruden to calling certain plays at certain times. Then it kind of opens it up and he says, hey, well, I got Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb over there now.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. So it will definitely open up the playbook naturally, just like Cody was saying, you know, just by adding a weapon or two onto that offense. And we'll have to see if it happens, you know, because the draft is it's a temptation type of deal for these teams. Yeah. Sometimes they see a player and they're like, oh, my God, I got to have him. and they go and they get the guy that they don't really need at the time. You know what I mean? What's your stand on in the draft for any team at all? Do you go and you draft based on need more, based on best available, or kind of a mix in between?
I would say it definitely always depends on the team. You know, higher end teams, you can draft more on best available, look towards your future a little more because, you know, your team's still competing. But at the same time, for those teams that, you know, lower end teams, you know, you got top 5 pick in the draft, top 10, you need to draft based on need for the most part. Mm-hmm. You know, you're missing a lot of positions. You need to go out there and fill those spots. Otherwise, those are just going to be huge gaps all season. You know, you don't fill a pass rusher spot, your team's just going to be struggling all season. Does not matter the secondary you have.
What do you think, you know, we're getting a lot of Raider questions right now. What do you think going into this draft for the Raiders at 12? We also heard the debate on which receiver you take if you're picking at 12. What if it's not a receiver? What if they kind of surprise some people? Now, the Raiders are shy of disappointing people and saying, no, we're not going to take the guy you thought we were going to take. We're going to take this guy because this is the guy we want. We saw Clelin Ferrell get taken really early by some accounts. A lot of people think that he should have been no way, shape, or form picked that soon. They should have went with a guy like Josh Allen or Ed Oliver or someone like that. Do you think this year they might do this kind of the same thing and just say, no, we're not going to take a receiver because it's so deep. We're going to take a guy that we really like right now.
Maybe. That is how Gruden is. He's not ever really been one to, you know, draft all because, you know, all the fans like this guy is more, you know, I want the guy that's going to fit my system, and that's what you saw last year in the draft. While it didn't pan out like guys, you know, Josh Allen, he was killing it last year in sacks. Ed Oliver showed to be that potential elite D tackle going forward. I could see them going away from wide receiver. You never really know what Gruden's going to do.
Yeah, you know, and now that Mike Mayock is the GM there, that kind of adds a little intrigue to some Raider fans out there in the NFL world. No one really knows what Mike's thinking sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could also, maybe they trade down. it would surprise a lot of people, but maybe they could do something like that to get. We all know that they don't have a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Do you think they could possibly acquire that by trading down from the 12?
Yeah, I could see them doing that. They've been a team that's been kind of consistently in the middle now for years. I could see them trying to make that big step up. You've seen them go out and get the big head coach, get the big GM. They're probably going to try and stockpile picks, try and re-get this team back into competing form quickly rather than try and only get a couple studs and then sit back and watch all the other guys get drafted.
Also, we're bouncing back and forth with the draft, and now we're going into free agency as well. There's another intriguing name out there that, I don't know, myself, I'm kind of a little surprised that he's still there, but at safety, Demarius Randall from the Cleveland Browns. He played with Cleveland last year. Cleveland didn't want to hold on to him, or maybe he was asking for too much, not really sure. But now he's available once again. He's 28 years old, a safety. There's teams out there also with a hole at safety still, and you got to wonder, is he getting some phone calls, and why do you think that he's available right now? Do you think it is because of possibly his price tag?
Possibly. He's been a guy who's bounced around position-wise. Obviously, we saw him playing corner early in his career. Then they tried to move him to safety. While he's not a bad coverage safety, kind of lacks that ability to come up, get the run, not much of a run support kind of guy. But if I'm a team, I wouldn't mind having him even as a depth guy. You can move him around if you have injuries at corner, move him to safety when you need him. I'm a little surprised he's still out there, but it doesn't really surprise me too much.
And what do you think? There's another safety out there by the name of Eric Reed who got released by the Carolina Panthers. We know that he's very proactive about what he stands for.
Yeah.
And, Eric Reed, he's 28. He's another kind of fairly young type of safety out there. Do you think he's going to get another opportunity elsewhere?
I think he'll get another opportunity for sure. I think it could be a little bit depending on maybe how much he's asking for, but I have liked Eric Reed for a while. Yeah, he bounced around a little bit because of him standing with Kaepernick as long as he did, but I think he's still got some juice left in the tank.
Gotcha. Another big-time name is available, Jason Peters. Now, you look at his age, though, and 38-year-old offensive tackle, a guy that the last 5 years has been kind of hit by the injury bug. And do you have any confidence in him able to play another full season? Do you think he could play a full season with the much injuries that he's had? Do you think do you think he could pull it together for one season?
Maybe. I could see a team, maybe on a higher-end team, taking a chance on him, maybe looking to take a run. I don't think he could stay healthy for a full season, but he could hope to push for double digits. Let's make sure you got a good backup behind him for the inevitable games he's got to miss.
So in other words, we just hope that he lasts through training camp.
Yeah, for the most part.
Being 38 years old, it's got to be kind of hard for him to get a job now. He's 38. He's got the injury history. But when he's healthy, we've seen how great he is.
Yeah.
Is he a potential target maybe the Giants would go after?
Oh, yeah. No, me and Jimmy have discussed it multiple times. I definitely wouldn't mind it. We've had that weakness on the tackle spots for a few seasons now.
Yeah.
It's been miserable, guys. Solder and Remmers last year. It was pretty brutal. Teams basically did what they wanted on the outsides. I wouldn't mind bringing in a guy like Peters, maybe address the other tackle spot in the draft. I could see the Giants doing something like that. I definitely wouldn't mind it. Come in, maybe even mentor some of the younger guys.
Yeah, another position in free agency too is running back. We've seen Melvin Gordon now just get signed to the Denver Broncos. That's kind of a big deal. That's kind of in any division. You see it all the time, right? You see free agents that were on a rival team, and now all of a sudden you got them signed on your team.
Yeah.
How big of an impact do you think Gordon will have with the Denver Broncos coming into this year, even though they still have guys like Phillip Lindsay, who was the starter the last 2 years? They got Royce Freeman, who they drafted. Do you think, are they going to be able to have a hard time here trying to mix in all these guys, or do you think it's just flat out it's going to be Gordon's featured type guy?
I think it's still Lindsay's backfield. You can't argue with the production he's had on the field as a receiver, as a runner. He's just been nothing short of elite. I think Gordon adds a little bit, but At this point, I don't know if I really see it as a huge upgrade. Maybe
Right.
trying to work a 3-back system or something with Lindsey Freeman and him.
Maybe that's what they might do.
It's not a bad idea. I was a little surprised by the signing. I didn't really see it as a needed pickup.
Yeah,
for him.
I was too. I thought
of
that
the
he
stronger
I-
positions.
I thought he might. I thought Tampa would come calling.
Yeah, you'd
You know,
think so.
Tampa. You think Atlanta? We bring up Atlanta because Devontae Freeman they cut.
Yep.
You know, Devontae Freeman is now an available free agent out there, running back, 28 years old. He's not over the hill. He's got a lot left in the gas tank, especially because he really hasn't played that much the past
It's just
2-3
been the
years.
constant injuries.
Exactly. So Devontae Freeman's another big name out there at running back. Tampa, what do you think?
Well, possibly. They're definitely in big need of depth. While I do like Ronald Jones, they don't really have much behind him anymore. They let Peyton Barber walk. He found a new team, so they need something else over there.
Jim's off camera. He's waving to you, James. He sees you.
Hi, Jimmy.
Hi, Jimmy. Everybody wave to Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy.
Uh-oh, retard alert.
So Devontae Freeman, he's an intriguing running back. You know, if someone wants to bring him in, maybe do a 2-back system like you were mentioning in Tampa. Do you think he actually can land? Do you think he could land another feature job somewhere else, or do you think that he's taking kind of like too much of a beating to where now he needs to take a step back a little bit and go to a 2-back?
I could see him potentially still being able to pull off being a feature back. We've still seen the production when he was on the field. If he can find a way to limit some of these injuries, I know it's hard to say limit injuries because just what they are, but I'd say he's still got enough in the tank to potentially be a feature back on the right team.
Gotcha. Another safety that's out there is 28 years old, Tony Jefferson. Baltimore Ravens had him. He started for the last 3-4 years for the Ravens. I don't know if he had a great career, you would call it, but I think he had an adequate career, like he was solid at least for the Ravens. Now that he's available, I mean, Tony Jefferson, are you surprised that Jefferson is available now?
A little bit, yeah. He's been pretty good now for years. You know, and I've never had an issue with him. I don't know. I couldn't really give you a good reason why he's still out there. I can't see him having a high price tag. He's still young, performs at just about every level you'd hope a safety would be able to. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. Another cornerback here, 26 years old now, in his prime, Ronald Darby. What do you think about Ronald Darby? We know he played recently with the Philadelphia Eagles.
I don't mind Darby. He's so inconsistent. Dude gives up way more big plays than he should. And while he has some flashes of showing that he could be a good corner, it's just the inconsistency scares me. That's probably the reason he's still out there. Just gives up so many big plays whenever he's asked to step up.
All right, so according to NFLTradeRumors.com, we have their ranking system for free agents that are still available. 1 through 10. I want to run through these. 1 through 10. We've talked a little bit about the big names and everything, but 1 through 10 here. I'm going to say the name, and I want you to tell me, are they worth signing or are they just worthless? You should not even bother.
All right.
All right? Cam Newton.
Worthless.
Jadeveon Clowney.
Worth it for the right price tag.
Jameis Winston. Trick question.
I'm gonna say worth it.
Okay. Shelby Harris.
Definitely worth it.
Everson Griffin.
Worth it.
Logan Ryan.
This is gonna be pretty easy. Worth it.
Prince Amukamara.
Probably not. Worthless.
Kelvin Beachum.
I'd say worth it at this point. He's still got enough in his tank to be worth it.
Okay, Demarius Randall.
Worth it. As a depth piece, not as a starter.
Gotcha. Eric Reed.
Worth it.
Jason Peters.
I'd say worth it.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. All right.
He's still got the talent. A lot of these I'll say worthless if I don't believe they still have the talent.
Now, this isn't the heart saying this, right?
I don't
You
know.
know, hoping that Peters can do it. Let's say Derek Wolfe.
Derek Wolfe.
D lineman for the Denver Broncos. Now he's 30 years old, but he's had a pretty darn good career with Denver. And now he's 30. He did come off of an injury last season.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Denver kind of let him walk, but I think he's worth it.
Yeah, I'd say If I'm a little in the middle, but I'd say worth it.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
a little older with an injury always puts up red flags.
Mike Daniels. Think he's still worth it?
I might have to lean a little bit more. I'm not gonna say worthless. I'd be a little more in the middle. Yeah. I'd be leaning more towards the bottom.
Devontae Freeman.
Worth it.
Tony Jefferson.
Definitely worth it.
Oh, he's all in on Tony.
Yeah, I like Tony Jefferson as well.
Let's go Clayton Geathers, safety from the
jeez.
Colts. Started. He was a starter for them.
Yeah.
He's still out there.
He's okay.
And this should be pretty easy. Jabal Sheard.
Oh, boy. I don't think he's worth it no more.
Timmy Jernigan,
Timmy Jernigan?
who's still in his prime.
He's still out there?
At 27 years old.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind him. I'd say he's still worth it. He's pretty cheap even to get on the team. So
Know-it-alls. I've been listening. I've been going through all these free agents right now that are available and everything. What do you guys think? Do you think, is there any one free agent that's out there that you guys would love for your team to add right now? Say tomorrow they're going to sign him, no matter what. Do you think that they're going to go out there? And I want you to share with us. Comment below and let us know what you think. What's your favorite player that's still available that you would love to see your team sign? What do you think about Taylor Gabriel?
Taylor Gabriel. I didn't know he was still out there. Yeah, no. I mean, I've always
Isn't it? This is the thing. Is like there's some names that when you go down, you're like, oh my God, he's available.
Yeah.
You know, so it kind of throws you off a little bit. Taylor Gabriel to me is one of those guys. I think he's still a guy that has something left in the gas tank. You know, a guy that could add something to your offense. You think that maybe Chicago will re-sign him on the cheap?
There's a possibility. I mean, I've always liked Gabriel when he was on Atlanta. He's always been, you know, he's a little small, but he's very, very fast receiver. Got great hands.
Right.
I did not know he was still out there. You know, I wouldn't mind
like,
seeing a lot of teams grab him up. I'm
Giants.
surprised Chicago didn't.
Giants. Do you want him?
I don't know about the Giants. I don't know if he would fit into it all there.
Carlos Hyde. Now this is a guy that's kind of bounced around.
Yeah.
You know, early in his career. You know, he's kind of played like one season here, a couple seasons there.
Yeah.
Now he finds himself back in free agency. Is Hyde worth it?
I'd say for the right price tag, he's a pretty solid complimentary back at this point. Because of all the injuries, obviously, he's definitely lost a step, but
Yeah.
I kind of liked what I saw last season from him. I think he did well when he was asked to.
Here's a few big names that kind of like stick out to me right now. We're getting kind of low on this list.
Yeah.
Tremaine Johnson.
Yep.
Didn't have the best season last year for the Jets.
No.
And quite honestly got benched. I forgot when he exactly got benched, but it was like at least halfway through the year.
Yeah, roughly.
All of a sudden, you didn't see him on the roster. You didn't see him suiting up. And he kind of fell out of favor in New York. Do you think he still could be worth it? I mean, he is 30 years old right now.
I'd say at this point, I'd probably put him in about the same boat I had Amukamara in.
So
Very
maybe give him
good.
a chance?
Yeah, as a decent depth guy, definitely not as a, every down kind of starter, but if he has to spill in here and there, maybe come in if someone gets hurt, I wouldn't mind having him on the team.
Know-it-alls, when you're in the chat, feel free to each guy that I say, let me know what you think. Do you think he's worth it or do you think he's worthless? Xavier Rhodes gets cut from Minnesota.
Yep.
Didn't have the best year.
No.
He kind of struggled in coverage this past season, more than we've usually see him. We usually see him as pretty ironclad.
Yep.
And this past season, he's really kind of taken a nosedive in coverage, and then blames the safety for everything.
Yeah.
Do you think he's gonna catch? Think he's in that same boat with Tremaine Johnson and Mukamura? You think he'll get He should get a shot, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
At
No,
least?
I've liked Rhodes for years now, and yeah, while I'd like to see a little more of the maturity side,
Mhm.
I've always preferred guys, even if you did, it was not on you, just owning up to a mistake kind of deal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We all know Jonathan Joseph doesn't have a shot, right?
No.
You think? 36?
I don't.
One of our know-it-alls, Bob Dar, says, question, do you guys think Marcus Mariota contract, including incentives, it's kind of pricey being Mariota deal.
Dead regress.
Dead regress and was replaced last year. What you guys' thoughts? This is an interesting question, and this is something kind of like what I've talked to a bunch of my buddies and everything outside the show. Cody, what's your take on this? Do you think with this contract that Marcus Mariota has signed, with all the incentives that are put into it and everything, what do you think? Do you think it's too much to pay him, or do you think that the contract is kind of okay?
I'd say for the most part it's okay. Maybe a little bit too much due to just his lack of production for a while now, and then obviously we saw last year as soon as they took him out, that's when the team really flourished under Tannehill.
So do you think, in your opinion, do you think $7.5 million for a backup QB is too much?
I'd say it's not too bad, but I'll go it's barely a little too much, maybe like $1 million too much.
Okay, I could see that. For me personally, for that situation with Marcus Mariota, I don't see it as a bad thing. I know a lot of Raider fans and a lot of NFL fans were blowing this up as soon as they heard the details on this contract and saying, "Whoa, my God, you're paying him how much? $47 million." No, the contract isn't for $47 million. Let's get this clear. Yeah. It's a 2-year deal that's heavily incentive-laden. So in order for Marcus Mariota to make any of these incentives, he has to be the starter. That's what has to happen.
Yep.
Right now he makes $7.5, and I do agree with Cody. I think it should have been like $1 million less. I don't think it's they're not paying him crazy amounts.
Yeah.
But you're paying a guy a decent wage to be your backup who's still in the prime of his career, and that's kind of like how I see it. So I think it's a decent deal for Mariota and the Raiders. I think they get the guy that they wanted. It seemed like, I don't know about you, but it seemed like as soon as you heard Marcus Mariota's name come up for the Raiders and how they were going to try to sign and get this deal done, you think that, that was their guy to bring in for the backup?
Well, possibly. We all know how high, guys like Gruden was on him, guys like Mayock were on him.
Mm-hmm.
They liked him a lot coming out of the draft, so I'd say they were probably pretty ecstatic, especially to get him at this price tag, to come in and probably be backup, maybe put a little pressure on Carr, maybe see if they can't light a fire under him.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head with that, is they brought him in for competition.
Yeah.
They want Carr to feel like, they don't want him to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You don't want to say, hey, look, who's behind you? Nate Peterman. Yeah, I don't think any quarterback would be nervous.
That's what she said.
So, nice one, Jim. So, because of all that, I think you're absolutely right. I think they brought him in because, one, it's going to give him competition.
Yeah.
It's going to make him see, like, hey, okay, they're making moves now. Now I got a quarterback that I gotta keep working hard. Not to say he doesn't work hard, but he knows now that things aren't, you can't just stop and smell the roses anymore.
It's
you're
either
gonna have
step
to
up
produce.
or sit down.
So, James also appreciate the comment. He goes, Rhodes is worth it. So there you have it. He might get a chance. Jose Martinez commenting, welcome to the show. Do you think Carr will step his game up now that Mariota is on his heels? And do you think Mariota will get his groove back to take Carr's job? What do you think?
Oh, boy. I think I see Carr stepping up a little more in this. While I liked Mariota a lot coming out, besides this one big season where you saw, oh, wow, maybe this guy could be that franchise guy, I haven't really seen anything since then. You look at the numbers, and you just kind of shake your head. This guy's barely breaking 15 touchdowns every season. As a starter, that's terrible.
Well, for Mariota to push Carr, I think he'll push Carr. I think he'll give him some competition. However, I don't see him taking Carr's job. Listen, Carr is so more well advanced with Gruden's offense.
Yeah.
It's his second, now going to be his third year in this offense. He's very comfortable with it, knows it like the back of his hand, and that right there is already going to give him a huge leap ahead of Mariota. Mariota's coming in fresh. He's going to have to learn that playbook from front to back. And Mariota, do I think he could kind of get his groove back and improve himself? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think especially now that he's in an environment, and this is something that Marcus Mariota came out and said publicly, is he was looking for a team where it had a solidified coaching staff, where he knew the offense wasn't going to change the next day, and he would look around and see a bunch of strange faces. He knows for sure, everybody knows, Gruden's going to be there for a long time. Coaching staff is all solidified on the offensive side. Now, defense, I don't really know. But we do know that Mariota is comfortable now with this signing. He's going to a team that's locked down with their coaching staff, not going to go anywhere anytime soon, and he doesn't have to be thrust into the limelight.
Yeah.
He can develop himself. He can work with Gruden on getting himself better. Now, we all know Mariota is a little soft. He's a little, he's not like the go-go guy, the rah-rah guy. He's not going to be in your face. He's not full of emotion. But do you think Gruden could hinder Mariota's development because of how hard Gruden pushes his quarterbacks?
I don't really see him being negative towards
You don't
Mariota
see him
at
being
this
that
point.
fragile?
Yeah, well, he has obviously had he's been a little more quiet than you'd like to see out of the quarterback position. I think joining that team will kind of be a breath of fresh air. You've
Kinda change him a
constantly
little bit?
seen changing teammates, changing coaches. And I think just settling into a team that's now been comfortable with the same coaching staff for years.
Right.
You could potentially see that Mariota that we saw for one season while he had that 25 touchdown season.
Mhm.
You could see that guy come back. It's definitely a realistic possibility.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Mariota fits this offensive scheme?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Because, Gruden does want Carr to run more.
Yeah.
That's been a criticism of Derek Carr this past year is, he played better in Gruden's system. But when he had an opportunity to take off and run, he kind of didn't and ended up either throwing it away or just throwing it into the ground.
Yeah, almost playing safe to a fault at that point, not trusting your
or
legs.
check down, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That day on, if I was going somewhere, I was running.
So James also comments. He says that Mariota contract is good. He likes the contract, and I think that we're all kind of on the same page there.
Yeah.
I think it's a decent contract for a backup quarterback, a guy that's still in his prime, and maybe Gruden could turn the corner for Mariota. Maybe he could make him and develop him, make him a little bit better. One other free agent I wanted to touch on, and this is another guy that kind of gets injured, but when he's healthy, man, he's a difference maker. Jordan Reed.
Yeah.
Tight end. You think that he could go to a team right now, maybe go on as a third-string tight end or something like that, and if he still wants to play, that is. He is 30 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe he's thinking about retiring. Don't know. But if he wants to still play, you think he's still going to get an opportunity, or do you think because of the injury history, he's not going to get a shot?
I mean, if I'm a team that's a little weaker at the position, due to the potential, high ceiling, if you can keep this guy in the field, I'll probably take a chance on him for the right amount of money. But that injury history, that's just going to scare away over half the teams in this league easily. But you could see maybe a team that doesn't have as much to lose taking a chance on him 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're talking about free agents. We're talking about a lot of stuff that's been going on right now. Let me ask you this, Cody. So through the last few days that we've had with free agency, we've even seen a lot of trades. Is there something that happened this past few days, that kind of surprised you? Where a team that made a trade that you kind of like, wow, I didn't expect that. Like DeForest Buckner. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
DeForest Buckner gets traded to the Indianapolis Colts. And for a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Colts were willing to give up a first round. Now, you know how important draft picks are. Everybody, it's like, the hidden gem. Everyone thinks they're going to hit the nail on the head and get that hidden gem with the draft picks and have an all-pro or legendary player.
Yeah.
In your opinion, for that trade to happen, did that kind of surprise you that the Niners would move on from Buckner?
I was definitely a little surprised. I've liked Buckner, honestly, since he came in. Guy's been a big difference maker for the Niners. I was not expecting the trade. It definitely came out of left field, but I'd say it's pretty good for both teams.
Okay.
On the Colts, they're a team you could see they're trying to compete right now. They're going out, they're getting Phillip Rivers, they're getting Buckner. They're trying to build this team to get, compete, make the playoffs right now. While a team like the Niners, while they just made the Super Bowl and obviously they want to go back, that first-round pick for them is going to be huge. They have such a good line. They could fill someone in without losing too much of a step for trading Buckner. Mm-hmm. It'll hurt, obviously, in, pass rush, run stop, but it won't kill them.
I mean, I was a huge fan of Buckner coming out of the draft, and I absolutely loved the dude. I was kind of surprised, I'm not going to lie. I was surprised about that trade. But the funny thing is they get that first rounder from the Colts. Now, the Colts don't pick too late.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of in that top 15 range, closer to the top 10. And I definitely could see them replacing that traded guy in Buckner with another D tackle. Definitely could see Javon Kinlaw, the D tackle of South Carolina. I think that might be their plan. I think they might be expecting him to be there.
Yeah, potentially.
Maybe that's why. Maybe, you know, they're going to trade off Buckner. They're going to get a draft pick with paying him way less money, a guy that can really perform. And a lot of people think that he's the number one D tackle coming out over a guy like Derek Brown from Auburn. So with that trade now happening and everything all said and done, you think that the Niners are going to miss having Buckner in the middle, or do you think that whether they draft one or who knows? I mean, you don't know what way they're going to go either, because they could go a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, you could almost see them even getting gutsy, going for a guy like Mike Daniels just to put that veteran presence in the middle. But
right.
They'll definitely miss Buckner, because I mean you're just not gonna find a guy that's gonna come in, even a promising rookie. You're not gonna find a guy who's gonna be Buckner.
Right.
But it's not gonna kill them too much. That defense is still gonna be just as good. Maybe take a slight tick down from last season, but I don't see that defense missing him too much.
So you think this trade is good for both teams no matter what?
Yes, I think this could definitely benefit both teams.
Okay. James also commenting, he goes, speaking of Gruden, you guys see on the NFL channels Raiders versus Bucks in Super Bowl 32. Hard to watch. Well, yeah, of course it is. If you're a Raider fan, you should just turn it off. I don't know why you would be watching it. But that's kind of like, you know, we're in this this unique situation right now around, you know, we got COVID-19 to deal with, and you see the networks trying to, especially for all these NFL channels, they're replaying games, playoffs, all-time greatest games, and that sort of thing. You think this kind of change now, if there's a younger listener out there and they're tuning into some of these games just for pure, you know, curiousness.
Yeah.
To see how the game was played in certain eras, to see even the history of it, if they want to learn a little bit more of that. You think that that's going to make them any smarter about football?
Oh, one can hope. I don't think anyone's really a big fan of this at this point, of how the game's getting just a little too soft for my liking. I'll never stop watching football.
Mm-hmm.
But I can disagree with a lot of things they've done. While I do like, you know, pushing for player safety,
yeah,
at
definitely.
the end of the day, football's always been, you know, that tough gridiron sport, and you almost see it lacking that a lot of these years. You know, guys getting penalized just for purely, even if it's a beautiful form tackle, if he does it just a little too hard, he'll get unnecessary roughness for it.
Oh, yeah.
You just kind of shake your head. You don't see those classic big hits like you used to see back in the day.
Let me ask you this, Cody. You mentioned big hits, and that's kind of been a big topic last year about unnecessary roughness calls, thrown left and right. Whenever there is a big collision, it just seems like the refs are throwing the flag regardless.
Yeah.
Because they can't tell. They expect these refs to tell if that's illegal or illegal. What's your stance on if the NFL was to make it a replayable, an instant replay type of penalty, where you could say, hey, no, I want to always challenge that no matter what. I want you to go into the instant replay booth and look at that play before you uphold that penalty.
Oh, for every single time there's like a big
because let's face it, big hits don't happen that often.
They don't, but I think that would maybe slow down the games a little too much. So you'll see some of these games where even if it's a bad call, yeah, I don't agree with it. Now the teams have the option to challenge it. I don't know if I'd make it something that would constantly get reviewed. Yeah,
and the other thing, too, is I want to bring up is the XFL, okay? The XFL has been kind of a success. I think people out there are kind of getting on board a little bit with the XFL until it had to close down. But before, with all these games that they have now, they experimented with replays and doing it quite often, mind you.
Yeah.
And they were like, by the snap of the finger, they were getting it up. They were looking at it real quick. Then they got reported down. That this is the call. This is where this should be. I think they did a remarkable job on speeding up the replay process, getting the call, and getting it down to the field and announcing it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Think the NFL could take some notes on that?
I definitely think the NFL could take some notes after I watched some of the XFL games. And while certain things are a little much, the reporters on the sidelines and
Oh yeah, I agree.
Showing what the coaches are saying on TV, I'm like, okay, that's a little much. I do really like the pacing of those games, though. I wasn't sure what I was going to see from a new league like this, but it was definitely pretty nice to watch. Before it got canceled, I was watching just about every week.
Right. And then you bring up the few little changes that they made. Kickoff was different. Huh?
Yeah.
So those of you that haven't seen the XFL game or didn't really care to watch it, the kickoff is unique because they kick it off, and the opposing team and the offensive and defensive team are lined up on the 30-yard line.
I think it's the 30, something like that. Yeah.
And they're really right. They're side by side like that on the 30-yard line all the way down. You got the team that's blocking. You got the team that's receiving. And the receiver, nobody's allowed to move while the ball's kicked up in the air until the receiver catches the ball. Then everybody starts blocking. It's a shorter range of motion for them to you can't really collide.
Yeah.
No one's running full blast. Do you think that's a safer alternative that the NFL should adopt?
I'd say safer, yes, but I don't think I ever see the NFL changing the way they do returns that drastically.
Let me ask you this: if you're the GM of the NFL, would you make that happen?
No, I don't think so.
You don't change it.
I think that would just anger too many NFL fans.
It might. James has a final comment of the night. He goes, what are your thoughts on the Raiders' new stadium going? Cody, what do you think? Have you gotten a chance to see that stadium? Have you gotten to see yeah? What do you think about it? What's your opinion on it?
I definitely really like that Raiders stadium. It's a little excessively flashy, but I think it's a really nice stadium.
Yeah, I mean,
that definitely is up there with some of the top ones in the NFL right now.
I'm interested to see the final product, because I've been watching it from day one, from ground level to now they're building it up. You can see all the black panels. It looks nice, and there's a lot of nice features in it. But when it gets finally completed, where you're able to see the inside and see how everything is really going to look for a final product, I think it's going to be amazing. I think they did a very good job, and they still say it's still on pace to be completed before the season. So that's some good news for the stadium out there. It's going to be interesting to say the least. I think it's going to be real impressive. And what do you got going on, Jimmy? We're going to Jimmy's top 5.
Yeah. Are going to have any games with this virus?
Number 5, we have finally given the. What does that say? I can't even see the letters.
Open that crab shack in Florida.
Number 4.
That's awesome.
Perfecting this football-shaped apple turnovers. Number 3.
Something like this.
Working at Chick-fil-A, they also do not work on Sundays. Number 2. Becoming Tom Brady's equipment manager. Okay.
I can appreciate all those deflated.
Number 1. Challenging Joey Chestnut.
That's awesome.
Oh, God. And there you have it, Jimmy's top 5. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in the show. Thank you, Cody, for sitting in for Jimmy.
Well, thanks for having me.
I know he is sorely missed from all his Know-It-All fans. And thanks for tuning in the show, Know-It-Alls. Really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. And make sure you go ahead and hit us up. Follow us on YouTube, Football on the Know Show. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button. Also, you can follow us right here on Facebook as well, Football on the Know. Go ahead, follow us on the group there, the group page, and also hit us up on Twitter at FB_know. We have one final know-it-all trying to fit in a comment here. Oh wow, 2 know-it-alls. So the refs should be held accountable for missing bad calls. They should implement some kind of fines. What's your guys' thoughts? This is something that I think the NFL kind of already does. They do kind of fine them. It's not out in the public for sure.
Yeah.
And we don't really hear too much about this, but once in a while something kind of gets leaked out where a ref gets suspended or something like that kind of causes makes a controversial call, and then they find out, wow, we really kind of blew this. You're suspended. Don't know how long that suspension's for.
Yeah.
Don't know if they do get fined or not, but I think that kind of they hold them accountable, but not to a full extent.
Yeah.
Do you think that the NFL should, one, kind of make this almost like how they put out in the public, they punish a player?
Yeah.
You think this should be a thing where they should actually like say, okay, well, Jim Toretto just got he got suspended for 15 days without pay, and do you think this should be a thing?
I mean, I kind of like the way they're starting to handle it now with them kind of throwing a little more accountability back at them. I don't think I'd really like this. I don't think that many people are going to even look for suspension of refs. There's going to be angry fans after every game.
Yeah.
If you're trying to always, listening to the fans and listening to when they're mad about calls, it's just going to be way too much.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. James has one final comment here. Says, when's the new schedule go out for the NFL? New schedule? I think the schedule is out. Is the times and the dates out though? That I know the opponents are out. You can look up opponents all day long. Everybody knows what the opponents are going to be. But we'll have to look up see what I don't think the times and dates are out yet. I don't think you're going to see who's the Monday night, who's the Thursday night, and all that. But you can find out what opponents you're facing.
Yeah.
So that's all we have for tonight. Thanks, all you know-it-alls, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We appreciate the love. Thank you, Raider Bear, for tuning in. Thanks, Mike Tackett. Thanks, all you guys. James, Bob, thanks for all your comments. I think it was Mike Guerrero.
Yeah.
Jose Martinez. I remember a few names. See that? Didn't forget about you guys. Make sure you tune. We do this show every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you hit us up next Wednesday. We'll meet you there.
Join us next until Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.